LA, Chauncey Pham here, Dallas-Fort Worth Realtor with Family Realty Group and eXp Realty, and
Nicole Espinosa with the Short Sale Queen.
And I'm back for another vlog, y'all. Okay, so today's topic is a little bit different. I want to really talk to you guys about leveraging investors for your retail real estate business and just building your retail real estate business in general. I think a lot of agents get stuck on like being a one-trick pony. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Like I see agents all the time that talk about wholesalers, that talk about fix and flip people, but just investors in general and other exit strategies. When sellers need to actually get rid of their homes, like the only thing they can think about is like, let's get it on the MLS, let's try to get as many showings as possible, and let's sell it for the highest price. And while like that shit sounds really good, that ain't what everybody needs. Like,
right. I mean, I think to your point, the one-trick pony, I think a lot of times agents, because they don't understand investors and they don't understand why those strategies can be effective
Correct.
For certain situations, because they're bad apples in every industry, right?
Right.
So we always see this because you're an investor as well as an agent.
Correct.
I work with investors heavily, so I'm in both worlds.
Right.
And I think the biggest misconception is that agents are lazy and that agents are useless, right? They're only good to put the house on the MLS. That's what investors think. And then you see the agents that are like, oh, investors are just going to use you, or
right.
they're scam artists or whatever. And it's like, let's close that gap.
Absolutely.
Because if you have the right agent, your world can change. And if you have the right investor, you have so much leverage,
Absolutely.
to be able to have more opportunities.
Absolutely. So let's talk about that, because I did start my real estate career just being like a straight up retail agent. But what ended up happening is I kept coming across sellers that had situations that I couldn't help. And I'm one of those people where like I need a solution
Absolutely.
for everything. So let's kind of start there. And let's talk about how a lot of realtors don't understand what their job is. Okay? Your job as a salesperson is to provide solutions.
Yeah.
Okay? That is your job. And so you need to look at yourself as like a central hub of resources for people that are looking to buy and sell homes and be able to point them in the right direction. And so that's kind of where I started. And I figured out very quickly, like, I need to figure out and learn more about the investing side. So what I did was I actually, when I was new, reached out and built some relationships with some investors. Best thing I could have ever done for my business, because I learned the whole fix and flip side of the business.
Right.
I learned what investors are looking for in terms of acquisitions. They let me in on a lot of their projects, and like how they calculated the renovation cost and how all of that looked. And more importantly, like I got deals.
Yeah, right.
Like I
made some money.
I did. Like I helped them acquire properties, and then I turned around and I listed them once they were done. So I was getting a double whammy on a lot of homes. And so I definitely think like looking into working with investors is really big, because like how did you start and then like transition over into what you do, where you work so heavily with investors?
Yeah, so what I noticed obviously was when I started getting all of these listings that were distressed,
right,
that I would get, bombarded by investors. And I'm sure if you're an agent and you've ever had any type of property at a discount or a property that's only cash, that you have every Joe Blow that's like, I have cash I can close. And what I found was they don't have cash.
They don't have cash.
Usually they can't close.
They can't close.
So I realized that the value was in the property, right?
Right.
It wasn't in the fact that I had met some investor. It was the fact that, hey, I had the properties, and if I could leverage the right relationships. So it kind of opened my eyes of like, okay, I see a lot of agents, new agents, that try to work with investors and they get burned so quick because they don't realize that the investors that are like, hey, I've got the money, going to get the properties, the good deal is where the value is.
Right.
So they're running around chasing foreclosures, chasing all these properties and never getting anywhere.
Right.
Because this is the one business that you can work your ass off. I almost said but you cursed earlier, so there's that.
We don't censor shit.
It always depends where you're at,
Yeah, right.
But you can work your ass off and absolutely be negative, right? Can we agree on that? Like you can work your ass off, you can legitimately be doing the right things and never get a deal.
Absolutely.
So that's where it was like, okay, it was actually funny because my first deal, I had a wholesaler, and when we used to teach classes, I used to tell them this example of what not to do, right? So I had this wholesaler who was like, hey, I want to buy these 4 properties. I know, hold on. I was excited, okay? Because I'm like, I'm 2 weeks in to being licensed, and I'm in the office like, I'm running 4 contracts.
4 deals.
Right. So they were and/or signs, right? Because he was going to find a back-end buyer.
Good.
We beat out, because I'm a negotiator, so I'm like, I beat out everyone else, like that matters, right? Every single one of his option and earnest bounced. Every single one.
Are you kidding me?
I had 4 angry listing.
So you had a broke-ass wholesaler?
I did. I had a super ambitious guy that was like, hey, just do it. And of course, I didn't know any better, so I didn't know to ask for proof of funds. I didn't know him from hole in the wall. So I was like, okay. Anyways, long story short, because I didn't know any better, I had wasted so many people's times, including myself. And, now that going into it, understanding like, okay, with the right investors, it created so many opportunities with their marketing. Right. I mean, think about this, like what you just said with your listings, how many investors don't value agents because agents can't even present to them what their value is.
Right.
Because they don't even know.
Right.
The real estate agents think like, okay, I stick it on MLS. Well, if that's all you're doing, okay, great. Good for you. Like they can pay some flat fee, but how are you adding value to their business to get things sold that you're running it like a business?
Absolutely.
Where you're actually marketing. Right. Not like, oh, I'm sharing this post on social media, but like you're actually marketing. You're out there prospecting for buyers so that your days on market goes down. All of the above. And I think that's, closing that gap and explaining to those investors like, look, I can help you with your marketing, and the value that I add is I can help you monetize on things that you're throwing away, because who doesn't want a bigger ROI? Right. And when you talk like that, it was a game changer. And now 70% of my business comes from investors.
Right. Which is freaking phenomenal. And guys, something, and just kind of the lesson in that. So let's take this little lesson break here. The moral of that story is do some research and educate yourself on all of the different types of exit strategies that investors use. You need to learn and understand what investors are typically looking for in terms of their acquisitions based on what their exit strategies are. You need to learn how to vet investors, so figure out like who's just some bullshit guy that's been on YouTube and has decided like that he's an investor all of a sudden because he watched Maxwell, name drop Max. Hey Max. But no, legit, like it's a whole process to it, but it's definitely something that if you are a retail realtor, you are definitely leaving money on the table. Absolutely. If you look at all investors as like trash and just taking advantage of people.
I think not only that too, is that I have, so on my Facebook group today, I asked like, hey, what do you guys want to learn, right? Like, what do you guys want to know? And someone made a really good point that a lot of realtors, because they don't understand, automatically assume that if there's another strategy besides listing it, that means it's not legit. Right. Which is not the case at all. Right. I mean, sometimes you as an agent, if you don't know what you're doing, you're the problem. Right. You're the person, if someone is in a financial hardship and they're in foreclosure, and you list it and you don't know how to stop foreclosures or really
then you're gonna
your
screw
timeline,
them.
You're screwing them, and you're sitting here like, no investors, you can't close in 2 weeks. I need to get them the highest offer. Well, guess what? Sometimes it's a matter of getting the deal done. Right. Is more important than having, exactly. And so a lot of times agents get in their own way because they don't understand. Right. So I think that's, like you said, educating yourself and understanding what's legit and what's not legit is going to help you, just create more options for your clients too.
Well, and in me kind of doing a lot of research and trying to figure it all out, then it gave me personal tools, even beyond me like building relationships with investors. Then I was able to look at how I could move as a realtor and work some of these deals. Let me give you guys an example. I had someone that called me, and she was another realtor, which is really funny because this was a realtor that was brought the same exact deal and was not able to do anything with it, and I turned it around just like that. Awesome. So she calls me and she says, hey Chauncey, I know this lady, she's in a really bad situation because she has a lot of animals. Mm-hmm. So the lady had like 20 something cats inside of the house, maybe 6 or 7 dogs, she had like some chickens. It was a lot going on in the house. And so nonetheless, it was a newer house, but the neighbors had found out she had all of these animals and had called the city. And the city had gotten to a point where they told her that she was either going to be fined like $10,000 a week until she got rid of the animals, or she had to like leave.
Yeah.
So she was like, I'm not getting rid of my animals, so I need to get rid of this house. But I'm in a situation to where I can't put it on the market like normal because people can't come in my house for showings and I have all my cats.
Right.
And so because I'd done some research and I did some just like quick thinking on my feet, I told this agent like, yeah, I can do something with it. Like, let me figure this out. Guys, I literally applied a wholesale mentality to this deal. What I did was I got a listing agreement signed with my seller at 0%. So you're not going to pay me anything. You're not paying a buyer's agent anything, because I'm actually going to facilitate both sides of this, and I'm going to go and find you a buyer without us having to go through showings. So I essentially wholesaled the deal. I did a CMA with her.
Yeah.
Right. I had a listing agreement at 0% from the seller. I showed her a CMA and was like, if your house was up to par and we didn't have cat poop everywhere, then like, this is what your house could sell at. Do you understand that? You're not going to get this number.
Which is really important.
Right.
Because
full
fiduciary
disclosure
responsibility was to make sure that she understood.
Right. So I got that signed, and then I went to all of the investor groups that I knew. And mind you, this was the first one at that point, and I just like tried it.
Yeah.
So I threw the stats out. She let me know exactly how much money she needed to make based on what she owed, and then how much she would probably need to buy another house.
Yeah.
And I threw it out there in investor groups and got tons of investors that were interested. I let all of them know what day they could come by and see the house. Mm-hmm. I also let all of them know that I would have to represent them as their buyer's agent, and that my fee would be built into my buyer's rep agreement. So guys, I end up selling this lady's house for like $160,000. I think I got like a 7% fee when I represented the buyer, and then I turned around and helped her buy a new house where I got another 3% on her purchase side.
That's awesome.
So, and then I paid the agent that sent me the deal, like she asked for like a $500 referral because she didn't think I could do anything with it. She was just like, you know.
but that's, to your point though, that's a perfect example about how you're like, okay, how can I create a solution by still being representation, right? So you still were representing her, looking out for her best interest, but creating a solution, because ultimately if another agent was just like, yes, I got this listing appointment, I got this listing check, oh my God, have you seen the feedback on those showings? I mean, and that happens all the time, where you see these houses and you're like, how can you list it?
Why is
looking
this on
like
MLS?
that? Why are you doing that? And because agents are like robots, they're like, this is what I need to do. And what that mindset needs to be is, okay, how can I create a solution? And it can look so many different ways.
Absolutely.
As an agent or a real estate investor.
Absolutely. So. I love that. And so I definitely think that has been like an integral part in my business, and how I've now almost like transitioned out of production because I learned so much about the investment side. You make a lot bigger chunks of money, and I can kind of operate in that capacity with my husband. And so he handles all of our acquisitions and all of that. And then I turn around and list the properties and market them, and I continue my investor relationship. So I definitely think that's super important. So learning everything that you know, educating or learning everything there is to know about investments, exit strategies, what they're looking for, applying them in your position as a realtor is really, really important. What else would you say realtors need to be cognizant of when it comes to
investors?
Yeah.
I think it's really important that real estate agents understand, going back to the original point of your value, because it's such a huge misconception that all agents, and even agents, think that like, hey, I'm going to list your home and then that's it, and I'll let you know what happens. And I think it's especially when the market shifts, especially when it's more than just sticking a sign in the yard.
Absolutely.
You guys have to know what's your value proposition. And if you can find what your niche is, what you're really good at, if you're really good at finding investors deals, or if you're really good at listing, really quickly and being able to market in a different kind of way, or just above and beyond, like that's something that is so crucial for investors, because they are known for spending all of this money. Girl, they spend all of this money on marketing or whatever. And then when it comes to selling that rehab, they take cell phone photos because they're like, oh, I'm going to save the 6% and then lose 10% because they can't even get someone through the door, right? And so you're sitting here like, okay, if I can figure out a way to show this investor how I can be this huge value to their business,
Absolutely.
and how I understand, okay, you don't really want to pay, but let me explain what you're leaving on the table because you're not working with me.
Right.
If I can figure out what my value proposition is to partner,
Like,
I'm
it's a whole
creating
niche.
so much business for myself because so many people don't get it. Even
Right.
if they say they get it,
They don't
get it because
They
they're
don't
not doing it.
And it's a whole niche because
It
like,
is.
you can
It is.
legit go and find yourself 3 or 4 good investors
Yep.
that their goal is to acquire 8 to 10 properties per month or per year. And so you can get those 3 or 4 that are doing 8 to 10 acquisitions a year, and they're going to flip them. So then you're going to help them on the acquisition side on, so what's that? I need a calculator. What's that?
I'm not good at math.
8 times 4? Shit, I don't know. So like 24 homes they're going to buy, and then you're going to turn around and list them once they're done being renovated and put them back on the market. So like you can literally build your business and become a real estate agent for investors. And
think about this, like for the investors, not only about marketing, but you can be that person for them that's like, hey, in this area, I wouldn't do a full rehab because
Right.
you're going to be overspending, and you can help them, you know, minimize their costs. So that can also structure you in the deal.
Absolutely.
Where I see people all the time, guys, that will completely overdo it.
oh yeah.
In a neighborhood that's like, why would you do that?
Why would you
That's
put
not
marble?
even, right, like that's not even the norm. Like, stop. So you can be that advisor. You can be that person that's like,
Right.
look, like I've done deals in this neighborhood, in this area, and this is what you need to do as far as
Absolutely.
improvements. And oh, there's 10 grand off their budget, and look how your fee is already earned.
Right.
You know what I mean? People are willing to spend the money if they see the value.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what it comes down to, is that investors don't see realtors' values.
And realtors don't
Exactly.
see investors as valuable.
Exactly.
And I just happen to be both. I'm a realtor and an investor because I see
Same.
value in both. Yeah, like, I mean, there's totally value in both. So yeah, did you have anything else? I think
No, I think we
that's
hit the
kinda
nail on the
like
head.
the moral of the story. So y'all don't be one-trick ponies out here. Don't just stick signs in the yard, and don't think that all investors are bad. And investors, please, don't think all realtors are bad, because some of us
Stop
actually understand.
generalizing.
Stop generalizing in general.
In life.
We need to
That's all
have,
we're gonna say.
that's a whole other conversation right there.
Just stop.
Generalizations.
Yeah.
Just stop. But yeah, so that's all we had today. So guys, to sum that up, go do some research, learn as much as you can about investors, create a niche for yourself, and create value for investors. It's a really quick and easy way for you to get out there, make some relationships, and then just have some like ready-made business in your pocket as you're kind of getting going. And you can even segue your own retail business into the investment side and make some more money for yourself. So yeah, so that's all I've got for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. And guys, go and like and subscribe to the Short Sale Queen, Nicole Espinosa's page. And then as always, don't forget, subscribe right down here on my page.
Share it, like, comment.
Share it, like, comment. How can they find you on your other social media pages?
So Instagram, the Nicole Espinosa, and YouTube is, you just search the Short Sale Queen.
Awesome. And then for me, as you guys know, Instagram, estate_chick_real, and on Facebook at Chauncey the Realtor. So until next time, peace and love.
Bye.